All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to tackle a really fundamental question in AI and robotics. How does a machine, any machine, make sense of a world that it can't see or measure perfectly? We're going to break down the incredibly clever ways that robots handle uncertainty. Okay, so put yourself in this robot's shoes for a second. Your sensors are giving you some information about that door, right? But are they 100% accurate? Probably not. And when you decide to move, are your wheels going to turn exactly the way you commanded? Not a chance. See, every piece of information you get is a little bit noisy, and every single action you take has some small error. And that right there leads to the huge question. How can a robot possibly build a reliable, accurate picture of the world when all it has to work with is unreliable data? This is the core problem of uncertainty, and it's a puzzle that every single autonomous system, whether it's a self-driving car or a tiny drone, absolutely has to solve. All right, let's really dig into this whole uncertainty problem. The technical name for what we're talking about is state estimation, and it is without a doubt the foundation for everything that comes next. So, state estimation. It sounds super technical, right? But really, it's just a fancy term for making a very, very good, educated guess. A robot can't just know its exact GPS coordinates down to the millimeter, but it can infer them by piecing together clues from its sensors and combining that with what it knows about its own movements. And here's the key idea, the big shift in thinking. The robot doesn't just cling to a single best guess. Instead, it holds on to what's called a belief. It might think, okay, there's a 70% chance I'm right here, maybe a 20% chance I'm a little bit to the left, and a 10% chance I'm way off over there. It's all about juggling probabilities, not getting locked into one single answer. Okay, so the robot has this belief, this cloud of possibilities. How in the world does it update that belief when new, messy data comes in? Well, that's where something called the Bayes filter comes into play. It's the mathematical recipe for doing just that. Whoa, okay, that looks like a whole lot of math, right? But hang on, don't let it scare you off. You don't need to worry about the specific symbols. The core idea hiding inside this equation is actually a really simple and honestly beautiful two-step dance that the robot just does over and over and over again. It's this constant rhythm, this back and forth. Step one is predict. The robot moves and says, okay, based on my last action, I think I should be over here now. But because actions aren't perfect, its uncertainty grows a little. Then comes step two, update. It takes a look around with its sensors and uses that new information to correct its guess. This sharpens its belief and shrinks the uncertainty. Predict, update. Predict, update. That's the whole game. And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? It perfectly captures that core philosophy. It's a total shift away from demanding one perfect answer. Instead, you embrace a whole spectrum of possibilities, and then you just relentlessly refine those possibilities with every new piece of evidence you get. So the Bayes filter is this amazing all-purpose recipe. But, sometimes you don't need the whole cookbook. You just need a super fast, super efficient tool for one specific job. And for a lot of real-world stuff, like tracking a moving object, that tool is the Kalman filter. Yeah, you can really think of the Kalman filter as the high-performance engine built from the Bayes filter's general blueprint. I mean, this thing is so legendary, it's so good at what it does, that a version of it was literally used to help navigate the Apollo missions to the moon. That's how powerful this idea is. Okay, so how does it work its magic? Well, like any specialized tool, it works best under certain conditions. It basically makes a few smart assumptions about the world. It assumes things change in a nice, predictable, linear way. And it assumes that all the uncertainty, from sensors, from movement, from its first guess, can be described by that classic bell curve shape, what we call a Gaussian distribution. And you can see this whole process play out beautifully in these charts. Look at chart A. We're starting out totally clueless. Our belief is spread out across a huge range of possibilities. It's that wide, flat pancake of a curve, very uncertain. And then, bam, a sensor reading comes in. Check out what happens in chart C. That flat pancake gets squeezed into this tall, sharp spike. All of a sudden, the robot is way more confident about where it is. Its uncertainty has collapsed. But, the story is not over. Now the robot moves. That's our predict step, right? And look at chart D. The spike gets squashed down and spreads out again. Why? Because every physical action, every movement injects a little bit of new uncertainty back into the system. And then what happens? You guessed it. Another measurement comes in at F. and that confidence comes roaring right back. It's this beautiful rhythm. Predict and get a little uncertain, then update and get confident again. Over and over, it just keeps zeroing in on the truth. So, the Kalman filter is amazing, but there's a catch. A pretty big one, actually. It relies on that one big assumption, that the world behaves in a perfectly straight line. And, when was the last time your world moved in a perfectly straight line? That classic Kalman filter? It's the king of the world on the left. Simple, predictable, linear. But our world, the real world, is much more like the one on the right. It's full of curves. Just think about a car turning a corner or a drone getting hit by a gust of wind. Those are nonlinear problems. So what's the solution? Do we just give up? Of course not. This is where we get a really clever upgrade, the extended Kalman filter, or the EKF for short. The trick behind the EKF is just brilliant in its simplicity. It knows the world is curvy, but it says, you know what? For one tiny brief moment, right at my current best guess, I'm just going to pretend the curve is a straight line. By making that local approximation, it can use all the super fast, super efficient math of the standard Kalman filter to solve a much harder problem. It's a fantastic cheat code. So let's just pull all that together for a second. The base filter is the big foundational idea, the entire philosophy of predict and update. The Kalman filter is the specialized high-speed tool for simple linear worlds. And the extended Kalman filter, the EKF, is that specialist's clever adaptation that lets it handle the messy, curvy, nonlinear real world. Okay, so we've gone pretty deep into the theory here. Bayes, Kalman, EKF. But what's the bottom line? Why should you care about any of this stuff outside of a robotics lab? Because this whole predict-update idea, it is the invisible engine humming away inside so much of the technology you use every single day. The GPS on your phone is using an EKF right now to combine noisy satellite signals with the motion sensors in your phone to figure out exactly where you are. Drones use it to stay perfectly stable in the air. It's absolutely fundamental to how self-driving cars see the world, and its logic is even used in huge-scale problems like weather forecasting and economic modeling. You see, in the end, this is so much more than just some code for robots. It's a really powerful way of thinking, a proven framework for dealing with a messy, uncertain world by turning noise into knowledge. And it makes you wonder, right, if we can teach machines to solve this kind of uncertainty, what's the next great challenge, the next great unknown that this way of thinking